ladies and gentlemen. 5:45 p.m. Central, September 18th, 2021. Kiler Davenport here. I tell you, I had something very, very, very interesting happen to me today. And I must say it was beyond interesting. I'm working on the computer. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been noticing little glitches come up here and there, like the cursor would move faster. I couldn't get it to slow down. I'd finally get it to slow down and it would speed up again. The scroll pattern on the computer would be fast, super fast. I haven't been able to get that adjusted yet. Patterns would be coming up on the computer on the right side or left side of the computer that would disrupt my business, whatever I was doing. And these scroll patterns made no sense whatsoever. Some of them were from Peacock, some of them from Netflix, some of them from Google News, just pop-ups. They would disrupt whatever you're doing. Can't get rid of it. Like a malignant cancer, comes back, comes back, comes back, comes back. It's been going on for about 2 weeks, slowly building up the crescendo to the larger and larger problems until today, the whole computer just shuts down, locks itself up completely, locks itself up, takes away the mouse. Still have the mouse pad. Now, we're talking complete lockdown, okay? I don't know if you've ever experienced this or not, but we're talking complete lockdown. You can remove the battery, you can turn the computer on and off, you can see clean, you can defrag, you can do whatever you want, clean history, turn the computer on and off 50 times and still locked down completely. Well, this, my friends, indicates a major hack, okay, in most cases. Not all, but in most cases, major hack. So we're dealing with all of this, Marion and I. We're looking at the screen, and this big poster type thing comes up over everything else and has a phone number at the bottom of it. You know, it says, emergency, emergency, you have been locked out of your computer. You're experiencing major problems. You need to talk to engineering. Please call this number. Well, the skeptic that I am and the former undercover operative that I am, I'm like, wow, this is weird. This is really, 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 really scary. I talk about this, or I could get in trouble. Um, Mary comes over. I point to the number, and I said, call. And so she calls the number, and someone answers and says, this is engineering, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're a third party contractor to Microsoft, helping people with problems on their computer like this, the one you're experiencing now. And she said, how do you know? How do you know what I'm experiencing? He said, I'm looking at your computer. She's like, what? And he's like, I'm looking at your computer and we need to get this fixed as fast as possible. This is a major, major breach of your security. All of your data has been compromised. All of your text data, all of your voice data, and otherwise has been compromised. She hung up on it. And she looks at me, I'm sitting on the bed. She goes, "That's a scam. That's a scam. I'm scared to death." And I said, "Well, okay, it's a scam. Let me think about it a minute. We've got this major situation here. We're completely locked out of our computer. We've done everything in our power. And what few skills I have in that area, is all I can say, could not bring the computer back to life, could not resuscitate the computer back to life again to any normal setting." So in about 10 minutes, we sit there and look at each other. Because this is a major thing. This is a major, 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 scary, freaky, creepy thing that's going on here. I said, after about 10 minutes or so of talking about it, I said, "Call him back." She said, "What? Are you crazy?" I said, "No, call him back." I said, "Whoever it is, they already have all of our data. Our data's already been compromised for a long time, as is everyone else's." I said, "Call him back." I said, "I'm going to take a chance." So she sitting there, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and it's him. Did you hear what I just said? The phone rings, and it's the third party engineer ring department for Microsoft. He says, "Are you ready to get started now to get your computer back?" And I'm looking at Marion, shaking my head, yes. She said, "Yes, I am. What do you want me to do?" He sent her on a mission. This guy was very, very, very smart. Very, very smart. He sent her on a mission like I have never seen before, as far as keystrokes, patterns, rhythms, timing, etc., etc., etc. He took us down into the bowels of hell. When I say the bowels of hell, I'm talking about he took us into places that people very seldom ever go on their computer. He took us into the cloud. He took us on a tour of our history. Our history started showing up. He made us count the number of hacks after we had plugged into that particular part of the program, the algorithm. We counted 20 hacks, and we saw some of them were local, within 60 miles. Some of them were not local, within a few thousand miles, and some of them were not even in this country, several thousand miles. Some were active, and some were in holding pattern to grab our data. Now, some of you may have had this happen to you. I don't know. But I'm telling you what happened to us. And I'm going to tell you in a few minutes what I think is going on. He took us down into the bowels, and he showed us to where these hackers had every bank card, every credit card, every membership card, every bit of psychodemographic data that was available on us was there in front of us on the computer in that really weird screen that looks like one that comes off of one of those forensic super CIA computer gigs on television. We're looking at it in real time. Scary as hell. Scary as hell. He says, I'm going to proceed to do 6 different scans. I need you to follow my orders specifically. Do not make any mistakes. Do you understand? Marian's shaking a little bit. She's like, yes, I understand. She's looking at me for confirmation what to do. She proceeds, number 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, phase 6. During this time, we saw our complete history as if God had came down to judge both of us. And all of our sins were laid right out there on the table for all to see. This guy took this computer apart, and he took our lives apart. He had everything. I mean, everything. You understand me? Everything. He also found child porn. One of the hackers had used our address to download some child porn off of the child porn hub. This didn't disturb me that much because I know that we do not download child porn or look at child porn unless it's from an investigative standpoint. And we have done that in the past about a year ago, but we only stayed in there for maybe 10 minutes and we were out. I just wanted to show her the bowels of hell of child porn. I wanted to show her what's available in the bowels of child porn hell. So we were in there for about 10 minutes, but this was different. This was something that someone had used our computer for a lot of child porn. Okay. And we could see it there on the screen, all of it. We could see the addresses of many of the hackers. Okay. Now, this went on and on and on and on for a while. And our computer is now back to normal so far. Now, the only thing he ever asked us is, do you have a credit card ending in 6, 1 and 3, 1 and 5, 1 and 1, 1 and 7? The answers to those questions were the first 3 are correct. Okay. You bank at so-and-so bank, correct. Well, now I'm starting to get a little nervous, a little edgy. I'm waiting for the moment to come up when he says, well, now for a fee of $250, I'll reset your computer for you. But he never brought up any money whatsoever. He never talked about money. He never talked about billing. He never talked about contracts. He never talked about anything. The only thing he wanted to do is get us back to normal. I know what some of you are thinking. I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you are thinking, no, he just wanted to get into your computer. And you gave him the keys, following his instructions and his keystrokes and his algorithm that he presented to you. Okay, and I can understand why you would think that. Okay, but you also have to understand where I come from and my undercover background. You also have to understand I tread in some very dangerous, nasty, murky waters on the internet, on the dark web, in order to save people's lives, in order to expose corruption. Okay? I've been doing this for a long, long time. And instead of exposing corruption openly, I call the people that I'm exposing, about to expose, and I tell them the facts of the matter, and they change their wicked ways. Or we go the other way and we turn it over to the proper authorities and they take action, maybe, maybe not. Most of the time, not. Because most of the time they're involved in the corruption. So the good guys in this business are in with the bad guys. You can't tell the good and the bad guys in this business, okay? Not at all. Not at all. So it's I was gonna leave this out, but it's just like law enforcement at certain levels of law enforcement. You can't tell who's good and who's bad. You just can't. You can't discern who's good and who's bad. It's very very sketchy, very dangerous, murky world that I used to live in. Okay. And it's a very, very sketchy, very dangerous world to live in, to act in, to work in. So that's my restream today. I wanted to let you all know that this happened. And I wanted you to be aware that this is happening, maybe happening more today than yesterday. It may get worse tomorrow, or it may get better tomorrow. Now, I did a little research on my own, and I have to be careful how I talk about this too. After all this was over and said and done, for the last hour, I've been doing a little shopping myself. And I've been looking at who was looking at us. And I find out that it's hackers hacking hackers who have hacked people unjustly. We could call them Q. We could call them anonymous. We could call them a lot of things. The watchers. I'll leave that to your own imagination. Our computer is back to normal, and we know now more than we ever did before, even after all of my undercover experience and all of my weird, wacky experiences undercover and all of the things that I've seen and done, all the equipment that I've handled, all of the high-tech gadgets that I've messed with. We find out that they're listening to every conversation, whether the telephone is on or off, whether the computer is on or off. They're taking pictures. They're scanning the area. They're tape recording everything you say in real time. And it's being saved for a rainy day when they need it. And you might say, well, nobody's going to do that to me because I'm a nobody and I don't get involved in those kind of things. That's not true. They're doing this to everybody. Whether you're the local garbage man and you go bowling on Wednesday night and go to church on Sunday morning, or whether you're a double agent working with the CIA, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is being done on everyone. And there are those bad black hat hackers, and there are those good white hat hackers who sometimes have to put on the black hat. So, this is what happened today. And I hope it never happens to you in the way that it did us, because you may not know what to do and you may lose your computer forever. You may never be able to get your computer back. Let me tell you, this was one hell of a Trojan horse. One hell of a powerful Trojan force that took control of every single apparatus in our home that has to do with Wi-Fi or is hooked up to Wi-Fi in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And that includes the toaster and the refrigerator and the washing machine and any other gadget that has a computer chip in it, including your wristwatch. So be careful out there. Be careful out there. Be very, very careful. And be careful who you talk to. Be careful who you give your credit card numbers to and your social security number to and your birth date and so forth and so on. This gentleman never asked for any of that information because obviously he already had it in mass. In mass. Obviously. Obviously. He already had it. But he had to perform these specific functions in order to save us from this terrible situation. And I believe that he was a white hat guardian angel protecting me because of my deep undercover work and my exposure of these corrupt politicians and others who are out there doing these nefarious, diabolical deeds to good people. And I'm going to continue to think that until something happens otherwise to prove that theory wrong. I will see you guys. I'll be around. I'm going to mull this around in my head. I had to order a new bed, by the way. I'm getting off the subject here. I had to order a new bed. You know, I sleep on a blow-up bed, one of those really nice Coleman blow-up beds. And a nail was on the floor. And as it was rubbing up against the wall, the nail, the nail went inside. It's amazing how a puncture hole the size of a pinhead can take a $70 bed out just like that. It's gone. It's amazing how the little things count. You never discount the little things, okay? So Mary ordered me a new bed for my birthday that's coming up. And it's supposed to be here anytime now. We're waiting for it. If it doesn't come tonight, I will have to sleep on her bed that I think she got at San Quentin down at the prison because it is so damn hard. It's like sleeping on bricks. I don't know why she's in love with this bed, but it makes no sense to me why she's in love with this bed. But it's just like sleeping on a bricks. And so anyway, now she's thinking about ordering one like mine. The big one. And it's got its own self pump and everything, match little button and it pumps itself up and down. Really cool stuff. They're about $67. If you wanted to know how much they are, about $67. You guys, please promote this vid. Share it out there. You know, if you all only knew who we are and what we really do, it would blow your mind. And I've given you hints. I've given you hints along the way for years. But people come and they go, they come and they go here. I don't have the same audience twice, 2 nights. You know, the way the world is today. Speaking of the way the world is today, what about that Biden deal down there on the border of Texas? 12, 15,000 people stranded, starving. What are they going to do with them? They're going to leave them there like we left our Americans in Afghanistan? What's Biden going to do? Right now, he's hiding his head in the sand like an ostrich. Him and Kamala Harris, who's in charge of that down there, they're both hiding their head in the sand in the White House. Jen doesn't have very much to say about that. The press secretary doesn't have very much to say about that. This mandate for this vaccination has come out now. They're speaking of this mandate. They're being sued. The White House is being sued by umpteen zillion people who don't think it's fair. It's not constitutional to mandate this vaccine to those who do not want the jab in them or their children. But you guys share this good. And I thought that was a good story for you today. I know it was a good experience for me, interesting experience for me, scary experience for me. And it will always be on my mind as to who that guy really was. Even though I could do all the investigating I want to do, I could be led down this rabbit hole and that rabbit hole and this rabbit hole and that rabbit hole. That's what this whole game is all about. We lead each other down these rabbit holes and they end up nowhere. So they end up back where you started. I'm glad I got to say that before I leave today. You just can't trust your senses anymore. You cannot trust your own senses anymore. You can't trust what you think you're seeing or hearing anymore. You can't trust what you think is happening anymore. But be careful. Be very, 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 very careful. Okay? Because you never know. You never know who's watching. You never know who's listening. I'm going to take us out of here. I'll see you guys and girls tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, my usual time, tomorrow night. Take care of yourself. Be safe. Be alive. Be alert. Be oriented times 4. Keep your senses sharp. Be a warrior. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Fear will definitely destroy you. And that's what they want. That's what they want. Y'all take care.